Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Shawnee, if you want, I can share my screen. If you want to make me.
Okay, a lot of interesting things. A lot of stuff here is hidden. And we'll see what we can figure this out, okay? So Vahi Bayom Shmini, what is that all about? Anybody know? The eighth day of what?
Chanukat habayit.
Chanukat HaMishkan, yes. Yeah. So, yeah, the Mishkan was built early, but hello? You're a little bit too far.
Hi, Saba.
Who is this?
It's Ahuva. Hi.
Oh, hi, Ahuva. Okay, sweets. Vahi Bayom Shmini. So before we go to Vahi Bayom Shmini, let's go back to
Tzav.
yeah, let's go a little bit for last week. Okay, we can go to Pasuk Lamed Gimel last week. That's Perek Chet.
Saba Ellie's also here and iPhone. I don't know who iPhone is.
Who?
That's me.
Hi, Daphne.
It's Daph.
Daphne and Ellie are also here, Saba.
Also,
Oh,
please
wow.
identify yourself.
Okay, so we're going back to Shmini. Shmini clearly means the eighth. So eighth, you have to know what was before and what was 7. So let's go back to Vayikra Chet, Pasuk Lamed Gimel. Umipetach ohel moed lo tetz'u shiv'at yamim. This Moshe Rabbeinu telling the Kohanim, you may not leave 7 days. Ad yom melot yemei miluachem. Ki shiv'at yamim yimalet etchem. Every day there'll be a special korban, and for 7 days, it doesn't. Did anybody ever learn Gemara Yuma?
Yeah.
I learned it. I didn't learn Gemara. I learned the Mishnah.
Remember, one of the earliest thing in Yuma is the Kohen Gadol was separated for 7 days. Where do you think they got that from?
From here.
Chumash today. Yeah. Okay. Ufetach or moed teshvu yomam v'alal shivat yamim.
What pasuk and parak are we in?
Hashem b'lo tamutu ki chen tzuveti. Vayas Aaron u'malkol b'ma shetzva Hashem et be'ad Moshe. Vahi bayom hashmini kara Moshe la'Aaron u'bnav b'nei Yisrael. Does that remind you of anything in terms of Sefer Vayikra? Vayikra kara Moshe la'Aaron u'bnav. In a certain respect, there has to be a kriya. In order for you to get close to Hashem, Hashem has to call you, and now Moshe Rabbeinu is trying to call them further. So you see, Vayikra and Kara, Vayi Bayom Hashmini, Kara Moshe la'Aaron b'nei Yisrael. Now watch this. This is very fascinating. Who wants to read Pasuk Bet?
Perek. We're in Shmini now.
Perek Tet, yeah.
ויאמר אל אהרון, קח לך עגל בן בקר לחטאת ועי לעולה, תמימים והקרב לפני השם.
Keep going.
ואל בני ישראל תדבר לאמור, קחו שעיר עזים לחטאת ועגל וכבש בני שנה תמימים לעולה.
What's the hidden message here? Anybody know?
That Aaron has to bring in Egel because it's
Of course, Aaron has to bring in an egel. Ve'al bnei Israel.
They have to bring
Sa'ir.
What's
Seir
Izim?
Izim. From
Why
Yosef.
Seir Izim? Huh?
From Mechirat Yosef.
Mechirat Yosef. An amazing story. This is so beautiful to see it right here. Aaron, you have to bring a korban because there's still an egel on you. Bnei Israel, you have to bring a korban. What you did to Joseph and what you did to your father, and maybe even Yaakov to his father, because remember he put on Seir Izim and he brought Seir Izim to Yitzchak. Any action that you do when you finally go to the Bet HaMikdash or you finally go to the Mishkan has to be cleared up. It's beautiful to see this. Okay, so why the Pasuk Daled? ושור ועיל נשלמים לזבוח. Go ahead.
ושור ועיל לשלמים לזבוח לפני השם, ומנחה בלולה בשמן, כי
Why?
היום...
כי היום נראה, השם נראה עליכם. It's the most amazing thing. You will now see, you will now basically, you will be seen by God and you will see God. Okay, so go ahead. ויקחו את אשר ציווה משה.
אל פני אוהל מועד, ויקרבו כל העדה, ויעמדו לפני השם.
Unbelievable. I mean, if you think the drama that you see here, you literally see after first 7 days, they could not see that. It's when Moshe Rabbeinu calls. Well, you remember in Shemot, the last thing Moshe could not enter until Vayikra Hashem. This is a repetition of the same thing. This time Moshe Rabbeinu gets them closer. Watch this.
פסוק זין.
Yeah.
ויאמר משה אל אהרון, קרב אל המזבח, ועשה את חטאתך ואת עולתך, וכפר בעדך ובעד העם, ועשה את קורבן העם, וכיפר בעדם כאשר ציווה השם.
One more pasuk.
ויקרב אהרון אל המזבח.
Not ויקרב, ויקרב.
ויקרב אהרון אל המזבח, וישחט את עגל החטאת אשר לו.
So what's going on here? ויאמר משה אל קרב אל המזבח. What's the implication? That Aaron was afraid to go to the Mizbeach. Most amazing thing. Why was he afraid to go to the Mizbeach?
Was he afraid it wasn't going to get accepted?
Because the Egel. How can I be the Kohen Gadol taking care of all Jewish people when I myself am an Egel on my back? Moshe Rabbeinu has to teach him by Yom Moshe Krav el HaMizbeach v'aseh et chatatcha v'et olatecha v'chaper ba'adcha u'be'ad ha'am. That's the most amazing thing. Rashi, you have Rashi on that pasuk?
Shawnee, I can read it if you want.
Okay.
Krav el HaMizbeach.
יחד.
Zayin.
זין.
Zayin, pasuk Zayin.
Sorry, Krav el HaMizbeach. That one.
Krav el HaMizbeach. Why? It's unbelievable. This Rashi is an unbelievable Rashi. It's very short, but look what it says.
Shaya Aaron Bosh v'yarei lageshet.
Bosh v'yarei lageshet. Aaron couldn't get himself to come close to the Mizbeach. Keep going.
Omer lo Moshe lama tabosh lichach
Nivcharta. It's unbelievable what's going on here now. Now you remember on Hallel Yisru Chag LaHashem at Karnot HaMizbeach, and remember that? Yisru Chag LaHashem at Karnot HaMizbeach. Yeah, do you remember this?
Yeah.
Anybody not remember this? If you don't remember it, then go to Pasuk Tet. Who wants to read that?
Tet.
I could read it. Tet.
Yeah.
ויקריבו בני אהרון את הדם אליו, ויטבול אצבעו בדם, וייתן על קרנות המזבח.
Al Karnot HaMizbeach. So the word Karnot HaMizbeach appear. What is that all about? Anybody idea? I'm going to read to you now Yonatan ben Uziel, and I guarantee you're going to be amazed about what's going on here. Karnot HaMizbeach. Anybody have an idea what that brought to mind to Aaron?
Does that mean
What's on his mind? What's on his mind?
The Egel.
The Egel. What does the Egel have?
horns?
Watch this, Yonatan. This is beautiful. Watch this. Vahava כיוון דחמה אהרון מטבחה בקרנוי, I'll read it, that's Aramaic. It was, when Aaron saw the Mizbeach with his karnaim, medame leigle. That Mizbeach with the karnaim reminded him of the Egel with the karnaim. Amazing. Istefei lemikrav legabe. He was afraid to come close to the Mizbeach because the Mizbeach reminded him of the Egel. For that reason, what has it? Bechen amar leMoshe, no, azimina ukriv lemidbecha velo tistafei. Beautiful, isn't this drama like you can't believe? Moshe Rabbeinu tells him that what? Go closer to the Mizbeach. But what did Rashi say? What did Rashi say? Read again the Rashi. Amar lo Moshe, who read it?
I read it. Amar lo Moshe, lama atabosh, l'chach nivcharta.
L'chach nivcharta? Who wants to explain that? You were chosen for what reason? It's amazing. I mean, this is amazing. Why were you chosen? Because you have on your head the Egel. Anybody who's purely never had any chataim cannot go and be mechaper b'nei Israel. Lekach nivcharta. You were chosen because of that. Now, Krav, you can go close to the Midbar because you know what it's like to have to come to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and say, God, I did something and I want to be forgiven. And I did something and my family did something and my family did something and my people did something. I who know what it feels like to ask for forgiveness. Lekach nivcharta. You were chosen. Why? Because you have the Egel on your mind. A beautiful idea. So who is speaking to Moshe, to Aaron?
Who is
Moshe.
Does
Moshe have anything to tell Aaron as well? Watch this. This is fascinating. I want to tell you something. Moshe Rabbeinu also had to learn to do something he felt he couldn't do. Please go to Perek Dalet in Shemot, Pasuk Yud. Who wants to read that one?
What pasuk is it?
Pasuk Yud. It's amazing. It's amazing pasuk. You will see the exact story of Moshe Rabbeinu with his brother Aaron. Go Pasuk Yud.
I'll read.
Go.
ויאמר משה אל השם, בי השם, לא איש דברים אנוכי, גם אתמול, גם משלשום, גם מאז דברך אל עבדיך, כי כבד פה וכבד לשון אנוכי.
Moshe Rabbeinu says to Hashem, I cannot possibly speak. I have a speech defect. What does Hashem answer him? Yud Aleph.
ויאמר השם אליו, מי שם פה לאדם, או מי ישום אילם, או חירש, או פיקח, או עיוור, הלא אנוכי השם.
You tell me that you have a speech defect, and for that reason, you cannot speak. It's exactly because you have a speech defect that I will make you the speaker of the Jewish people. Amazing. Then if you don't mind, you see, it's the exact story of Aaron. The reason Aaron was chosen was because he had a problem on his head and he felt it. He could come to Hashem and say, Hashem, I did something and I want to be forgiven. And if I did something forgiven, my family and my people. Moshe Rabbeinu says, I have a speech defect. Go to Perek Yutet in Shmot, Pasuk Yutet.
What parak, Saba?
Perak Yutet, Pasuk Yutet.
I could read it.
Sure, okay, Lord, that'd be interesting.
ויהי קול השופר הולך וחזק מאוד, משה ידבר והאלוקים יעננו בקול.
Who is speaking? You, Moshe, who you said to me, God, I can't speak, I have a speech defect. You're the one who's going to speak because you understand what it's like when Hashem has to give you a neu b'kol. So now we understand what Hashem said to Moshe Rabbeinu. Mi sampeh. Who can really appreciate the ability not to speak? Person who stutters. Person who can't speak out. Moshe Rabbeinu, you were the dafka chosen to be the speaker because you understood what it's like not to be able to speak. Comes Moshe Rabbeinu to Aaron. Aaron, you were the dafka called to be the person mechaper b'nei Israel because you know what it's like. And now every time you see the Mizbeach and Karnot HaMizbeach, and on your mind you see the Egel, Shechatet HaEgel. There's a time to get rid of this. And Aaron becomes the, on Yom Kippurim, all the Kohen Gadol says, Kaperna le'amcha, kaperli, kaperna anamcha. What's the point? The point is that a person who went through this understands how to speak to God, Kibiyachol. Moshe Rabbeinu had the ability, the speech defect. Moshe yedaber, v'Elokim ya'anenu b'kol. You and Aaron, you have and your mind when you see Karnot HaMizbeach, the kern of the Egel, you're the one who has to come lechaper because you understand what it's like. That's the story for this week's Parsha.
That's really nice, Saba.
Yeah.
Wait,
Anybody
Saba,
want to add anything?
I have a question.
Sure.
When you were
I
saying
think it's a
that
very
Moshe,
beautiful idea, though.
Yeah.
You can't.
It's really nice.
Before you go on, I just want to tell you something. It's an interesting thing. The Melech HaMashiach has all sorts of problems, right? He comes from Lot and his daughters. He comes from Yehuda and Tamar. He comes from David and Bathsheba. All sorts of problems. And he's Melech HaMashiach. Why? Because the Melech HaMashiach was represent me, and I'm not perfect. Okay, Ahuba, you had a question.
Yeah, you're saying that Moshe was chosen because he couldn't speak in that, he had trouble speaking. So why he was chosen? Because Bnei Israel couldn't speak for them. Why? What does that have to do with why he was chosen?
It's one of the reasons. Of course, there are many reasons, but if a person understands that he has got certain weaknesses, that's when Hashem chooses him. As long as you understand that you have weakness, if you ever think about anybody who speaks to the Jewish people, all Sefer Dvarim, who speaks there? Moshe Rabbeinu from the beginning to the end, but Hanan, that's it. I'm glad you asked that. I want to tell you some interesting thing. Have all of you have heard of Winston Churchill?
Mm-hmm.
Winston Churchill was at the time when Hitler had what they call a blitzkrieg. Blitzkrieg means he bombed London, bombed nonstop. My uncle was there. And Winston Churchill came on radio. Those days they didn't have television. And he took the British people together. And then we will fight them by the sea. We will fight them by the air. We will fight them on land. And he was able to put the English people as under the blitzkrieg to fight back. And do you know what Churchill had? A stutter. Churchill had a stutter. And anybody always thinks about this man was able to pull together the British people. A stutter. How he overcame that stutter, nobody knows, but that moment when he came on radio, he was not stuttering. In a sense, it reminds me of Moshe Rabbeinu as well. Of course, Moshe Rabbeinu was chosen for many, many other reasons. But one of the things that Moshe Rabbeinu could understand is that I have a defect. Mi sampeh la'adam, Hashem sampeh. And that's why Moshe yedaber, v'Elokim ya'anenu b'kol. With your speech defect, and Churchill with his stutter, Hashem somehow works that. Thank God, I can talk. I have no difficulty. But you have to say something. If that's on your mind, and you say, Hashem, I understand what it's like. Well, when that happens, Hashem says to you, Moshe yedaber v'Elokim ya'aneh b'kol. It's one of the things that he was chosen for.
Very nice.
I think it's beautiful. And I think the Churchill story is a very famous story. If you want to Google it later on, he had a stutter, and nobody knows how he got on that radio and was able to unify the British people against Hitler. But in a sense, Aaron had to, it was Aaron, ki lechach nivcharta, says Rashi. You were chosen. Anybody who doesn't have anything to say to God, I'm going to say it. But you have something. And you saw the Aaron, you saw the Mizbeach, not the Mizbeach, as Karnei Egel. Krav, go ahead, get close to the Mizbeach, and Hashem will forgive you and the Jewish people.
Mm-hmm. Very, very
Yafeh.
nice.
Anybody want to add anything to
Very
this?
nice, Bob.
Yafeh, Nachan?
Very
Yeah,
nice.
okay. Okay, so Emir Hashem next week again. And next week is, of course, Rosh Chodesh and Parshat HaChodesh.
Mm-hmm.
So there should be plenty of things to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I hope. Love you all.
Love you,
Thank you,
Saba.
Saba.
Shavua
Love
tov,
you.
שנשמע בשורות טובות,